Hello everybody, welcome to Red Tool House. On today's video, we are going to get our broiler chickens out on pasture. It's time to get them out of the brooder. So check out what we've got going on. Well, it finally stopped raining long enough for me to get some of the grass cut. You can see behind the side-by-side just how tall it is. It's about waist deep to me, which is a little crazy. And obviously tough to get broilers on. You don't want grass that tall putting your broilers out on pasture. So I've got my 3 Siskovich style chicken tractors here that we built several years ago. This is where I overwintered them. So I got to get them pulled out. You can see number 2 there. It's the oldest one. It's actually 3 years old. It needs a new tarp. So we'll put a new tarp on it. And I just need to go over it and make sure we don't have any major holes in it and get it ready to toss some broilers in. All right, well, it looks like the tractor's in pretty good shape. I have 2 that already have the hanging troughs in them. The one that has the torn canvas is actually one that we were using for our egg layers at one point. So I took the hanging trough out and actually put roost bars. So I'm gonna have to do some more work on that. So I think what we'll do is we'll probably put all of our chickens in the 2 tractors when really we should have them in 3, but this will just be for a night or so. I want to get them out of the brooder because we actually have egg-laying chickens coming in next that need to have their turn in the brooder. So we get these in place. The boys are loading up chickens now, and they're going to bring them to me. So I want to get my waters hung and just kind of get these in place. We're going to go that way with our tractors, so I want to get this one set exactly where I want it to be. Acres. Everything's still in the way. That's good, buddy. Okay, so I've got my tarp, new tarp on this. I went with an 8x10 on this one, and these I think are 10x12s. This needs to be something in between. I think even John's plans call for something in between. This was too much because it didn't give them any sunlight. This is going to be too little. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, standing in the rain, it's not like we're going to have cold nights again, hopefully, knock on wood. But they can still get some shelter there near there's only, what, a foot on either side that's uncovered. But for a feeding trough, I'm going to try, I've got a wall mount feeder from Duncan. Now, it's I think 16 inches wide. It's made to go in between studs. So I'm going to try that and see. That may be, as aggressive as they are to eat, that may not be big enough. But I'm going to try that. That mounts to the wall, so it'll obviously travel right along as we move it. So I'm going to put that in there, and that'll be a little experiment. And then, of course, got to get the water hooked up for that as well. But it is starting to sprinkle, shocker. And I actually have to have a conference call. So we're going to wrap it up tonight, and we'll pick up tomorrow. All right, so fast forward 2 mornings. So a full day has transpired since I was working on the tarp on this tractor. And so the chickens have spent a full day, full 24 hours in these tractors in these positions. So we're going to go ahead and move them forward. What I like to do is, I always like to move them before I fill up their water and their feed, of course, because that allows them, they like to come to me. They know me as the feed guy. So if I'm standing in front, they normally stick with me. But then, of course, with the water not full, it makes the tractor a little lighter. So I'm going to pull these 2 forward first, and then we'll check out what they've done and continue fixing up our 3rd one. This is great. All right, so you can see here where I moved them forward. We had a rain event last night, shocker, you know, not like we have rain events every night. But the manure load here is pretty heavy. And but I think it's one of those deals where I haven't balanced them yet because obviously discussing the 3rd tractor, but 40 in one tractor, 55 in another. And right now at the size they are, I could divide that up evenly to have, you know, what would that be, 47-ish, and have those running in their own, just in 2 tractors. I could probably do that for about a week, but just be watching the manure load and the scratch. You know, are they just absolutely wearing this grass out, or are they just putting enough stress on it to get it to regenerate well? So I can keep an eye on that and see, and maybe not even put the 3rd tractor into rotation. But I'm probably going to go ahead and do that just because I just want to make sure everything's working on it and get it going and spread it out, and it keeps me from having to handle them again. This is probably the spot on the farm where I have the best grass. That's why I have the broilers running here. But what's interesting, I'm standing right now right at the old line of what used to be our 2-paddock egg-laying chicken pasture. And you know, we did videos on that a couple years ago. And it was somewhat of a success, but it was somewhat of a failure. The failure portion was we overwintered the chickens on the pastures, so they just absolutely decimated them, and it just took way too long for them to come back. even if I kept one closed down and the other one exclusive. It just took way too long. Too many chickens. I think we had 60, 70 chickens at that point, 2 5,000 square foot pastures. So it just was too much for that setup. So right before we shut it down, what was growing back was all horse nettle. So this entire section right here in front of us was nothing but horse nettle. And if you're familiar with that, they almost look like little wild tomatoes, but they've got crazy thorns on them, little spiky, hairy thorns. And they're just, nasty. Nothing eats them. What I'd read is you come through and you mow down all the horse nettle. You mow down everything as low as you can, and then try to get the stuff that's still there, the seed bank that's still there, to grow up. And that's what happened. This grass came back. There's a lot of clover. So that's what happened. Once we mowed it all down and let it start to grow up over the course of the year, then the grass came back. You can see there's clover. Now there is still some creeping Charlie, which we have all over this place. But what's really neat, of course the deer are down here wearing it out. You can see deer manure everywhere. But what I'll probably do, our broilers, they're going to be done in July. So we'll be still in the dead center of the growing season. The plan will be after July, after we get the broilers off of here, instead of just mowing this, once we take the pigs and get them all processed and I keep behind my 2 gilts, I'll probably come in here with some temporary fencing and let the gilts kind of churn this up. They love creeping Charlie, so they'll come through and eradicate every bit of the creeping Charlie. They'll turn this up. They'll really till it. So we'll let them in here, not let them tear it up too badly that they make huge wallows and huge ruts, but be able to have them come in here and even improve this ground even more. So we'll obviously document that when we get to that point. So as I mentioned earlier, I had this wall mount Duncan feeder that I got from Duncan's Poultry, and it's 16 inches wide. It's made to go in between studs like you'd have in your coop. So it's kind of a low profile feeder. I really like it. It worked well. We've used it in the phone booth coop. We've used it in several areas. We're currently not using it right now, so I thought, well, I'll go try mounting it in the tractor on the front end here. I've got to put a little support brace to make sure it doesn't drag the ground, but see if this is going to work. I don't know if the chickens are going to be too aggressive trying to get in there and knock each other around. Seems like they kind of do that anyway, and once the ones got their fill, they walk off, and then the less dominant get in there. So we're going to give this a shot, and we'll monitor to see how it does. If we see some issues with them fighting too much, then we'll take it out, but we'll give this a try. All right, so I got that third tractor ready to go. I think what we'll do is I'll move the chickens over in the morning when I go to feed again, just so I've got my ration all figured out. I'm measuring what I'm giving out each day so I can keep track of that cost-wise. So some of you may be asking, what about security, Troy? You're worried about stuff getting in under the tractor, tearing up the tractor. Well, this will be our 3rd year using these tractors, these Siskovich style, and with a hardware cloth along the bottom, and the weight of it, I haven't had any issues with anything digging under, raccoons, dogs, anything like that. So I'm hoping that'll be the same this year. The one thing I've got to watch in this ground, I've got some uneven spots. So if I pull the tractor up and it makes a natural saddle underneath, then of course don't want to do that because that would be a big problem. So as some of you know, we've had some fox issues with our egg layers. So I came down the first night after dark once we put the chicks out here, and just kind of did a little perimeter search there using my my handy dandy predator finder. Yeah, YouTube's gonna love me showing this. So I came down and spotlighted a little bit, obviously looking for some eyeballs glaring back at me, and other than a ton of deer, I really didn't see anything. But this gives me a good opportunity, nice little segue here, that as you guys know, I really like the Olights. Been talking about them for a while, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time discussing this, but they sent me this PL-MINI 2 Valkyrie. It goes right on the rail of my XDS, and I absolutely love this thing. I have another one of the rail-mounted light laser pointers that goes on that I have on my Glock, and it is really nice, but obviously it's much bigger. This thing is extremely streamlined and very smooth. So I like how it doesn't, the whole point of having the XDS single stack is so it can conceal easily and carry easily. So this doesn't add a bunch of weight to it. So it allows my XDS to be balanced well. It has the magnetic charger, so you don't have to worry about swapping batteries. And again, it has ambidextrous switching, so you can turn it on with left or right-handed. So it makes all of us left-handed people happy in the world. Well, as usual, when I talk about Olight, I talk about sale. That's the reason why we kind of do this. It's an opportunity for you guys to get Olight at a much better rate. So looking at the details here, on May 29th, the entire day, they're running a special on a couple options, obviously. But the one that jumps out to me, of course, is the PL-MINI 2. This one that I have on my XDS. You can get the Gunmetal Gray Limited Edition 30% off, so that knocks it down to $66. So not bad price if you like a nice bright light for your concealed carry. So I'm going to put down below in the video description all the other specials. I mean, they're giving away free lights. They've got those little UV lights, which we're going to use in the garden here coming up soon. So we'll do a video about that, how really cool that is to help spot some pests on your plants. But check that out below, and if you use our affiliate link, of course, that gives us some credit there, so we appreciate it.